Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast. This is your escape for real, unscripted conversations about sports, hobbies, life, and storytelling. No scripts, no forced takes, just Man Cave talk. Now, here's your host, Dan Casper.
It is a Wednesday, which means we're doing a little Inside the Hobby segment, and he's back from Slab Factory. Ty, how you doing, man?
Doing fine, Dan. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Getting, baseball season's fully underway.
I've watched
and
like every
too.
Brewer game. I'm having a blast.
Yeah.
This team is fun.
It is. And just a little bit this morning here, too, because we're going to be hitting on a few different topics. We're going to be talking about, I know the news last week with Topps and the NFL coming together and such. You're going to talk a little bit about card shows and that. Kind of throwing this one out there really quick because I know we have a few minutes to the top of the hour, but the news that Konnor Griffin has signed a 9-year deal with the Pirates,
yes.
the youngster, biggest contract. Is that a guy, if you have his card, or is that going to be one of the next big baseball ones out there?
Yes.
Out there?
I was seeing, actually, there's this really fun thing. There's so many rookies in baseball right now that are just going off. Konnor Griffin, Kevin McGonigal, Carson Benj. That's just to name a few. There are some other guys who are just hitting the cover off the ball. Owen Casey down in Miami, and those guys are all really hot cards right now. And Chase DeLauder has like 4 or 5 home runs.
Yeah.
So the resurgence of some of these young guys has really like put a lot of life into the baseball collecting side. And Konnor Griffin stuff is selling for quite a bit right now. I mean, like I've seen his first Bowman base card is paper is doing like $10, which is just nuts for a paper-based card. I have advice for that if you want to get into that. How to buy, how to sell.
Let's do that coming up at the top.
Yeah,
after the top.
Perfect.
So,
yeah.
That definitely would love to hear that too. And you were seeing a lot of these younger guys too signing these long-term deals. Obviously, Cooper Pratt, being with the Brewer one. I don't know if has that affected. Do you know about his market a little bit?
Yeah, so it does affect the market specifically in 2 different ways, right? Teams showing belief in their players does affect their market, right? Okay. If they pay a guy, they believe in them. This goes for rookies or vets, right? If someone gets a big contract, it does boost their market a little bit because it's showing, that teams believe in them. But the other thing too with these young guys is that if you specifically are personally collecting a guy, right? Like when I'm personally collecting Churio, part of the reason that I PC Jackson Churio is because I know he's under contract for the next, is it 6 years from now? I think 2032. So he's, with him being locked under contract, and obviously the Brewers someday will not be able to pay him. That's how the Brewers work, unfortunately. But like hypothetically, I mean, they paid Yelich, who knows? But if they can't pay him someday, I still have all those years to collect his stuff and enjoy his stuff in a Brewers uniform. Right.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about, was Churio kind of the same way too when he signed up that long-term deal? And maybe Jesus Mate coming up here too?
Yeah, if they sign, because his stuff is already pretty hot, so if he signs a long-term deal, then it'll go pretty nuclear like Konnor Griffin did.
Okay, interesting. So, I'm excited coming up here in just a little bit because we got the news at the top of the hour here. But, again, we're going to talk, Paul's already saying best segment of the week here.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we love to hear it.
Yeah, he's ready. Paul was kind enough, too. He actually, I should show you some of the stuff. He donated some cards to give away, too.
Very cool.
For listeners and such, too. So,
very cool.
Yeah, I'll have to go get those and show you what Paul donated. So, but, we're going to talk a little bit about Topps and NFL because, man, when I was a kid, we had so many different brands and all this, and now it just feels like it's shrinking.
It's shrinking. The whole market is shrinking, with whether it's grading like we talked about last time or the distributors at the top. It's shrinking a little bit.
Yeah, and then card shows, which I know Claire's got one coming up in a couple weeks here too. So I'm glad you brought that up because I definitely got some questions with that, especially with younger kids and taking the family over there too. So we've got Ty from Slab Factory still with us, and we're going to hit up a few different things here. Do you want to start off with the Topps thing, or do you want to go sports cards?
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
I can just launch into it. Topps, owned by Fanatics, which they're having their conference right now. They're like their customer conference.
Okay.
So there have been some announcements that have been coming out and things like that. They claim to be focusing a little bit more on price point accessibility. We'll see if that's the case. That's one of the things that they came out with. They also announced like a Fanatics American Express credit card that will give fans different deals on different access. So some people are ticked about that. Some people are okay with that. Obviously, it's one of those things where you might benefit, but also if you get less access because you don't have it, that's not really the way the hobby should be. So a little bit, stuff here, stuff there with Topps. But the biggest news, obviously, being that they took over the football license. And so what that means really specifically is that they have an agreement with the Players Association, right? And the Players Association deal just started. The full NFL licensing, I think, starts shortly, like right after the Player Association stuff, right? So there's a product that's out right now, for example, which is it's called Panini Prism Black, and that box has licensed football in it, but it's only vets and retired players and stuff because the current Players Association agreement started already.
Gotcha.
So there's like some vet product and stuff like that they'll still put out until the bell. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, NFL is a Topps product now.
So I think was it Donruss or something that did baseball but without the logos and such? Is that something other ones could still do?
You're so right. Yeah. Okay. So that's unlicensed products. So like there's unlicensed and licensed. When you see unlicensed, I wish I had an example with me right now, but when you see unlicensed, it's basically you don't see the team name and you don't see a logo. What you see is they've basically photoshopped the logo off the jersey or off the helmet, and the team name is just the city, right? Okay, so like, if you see like a Giannis, unlicensed Giannis card, there's not going to be a Bucks logo, and it's just going to say Milwaukee. It's not going to say Milwaukee Bucks because they don't have an agreement with the NBA. So the tricky part in all of this is how Panini kind of phases out. I'm not sure because Panini had the license for years and years. They also used to have basketball, and Topps took over basketball last year. And Topps basketball has been really successful, even though they haven't put out a ton of product yet. We talked about that last time. I'm hoping that they can put out a little bit more retail product in the near future. But Panini has had the license for a very long time, and I am unsure about what the health is going to look like of Panini as a company. I worry about a potential monopoly down the road where Fanatics just owns it all.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of talking a little bit earlier, too. I remember when I was younger, it was Upper Deck, it was Topps, it was Fleer, it was all these different brands, or even like Top Stadium Club.
Yes.
And all that.
Well, you say Top Stadium Club. It's funny. I've got a Stadium Club Shohei Ohtani with
Look at
me,
that.
which Stadium Club used to be its own standalone, right? And similar to like Donruss used to stand alone. Hoops technically does. I just saw that Topps is going to be releasing NBA Hoops, which was a Panini product.
Okay.
But it was actually their own separate agreement. So so Topps is going to have NBA Hoops.
All right.
So there's little things where there's like microcosms that will survive and not survive. I'm interested to see what that is. But yes, Upper Deck still has hockey, still has golf, still has some outlying niche type sports. We carry the hockey and golf stuff, and Panini will continue to have. I'm going to get corrected here. I can't remember if they lost UFC or if they still have UFC. And same thing with wrestling. I don't know if they still have wrestling or if they lost that too. So there are, it's a league by league basis, but the agreements seem to be going in the favor of Topps when you have the three major sports, which, football, baseball, and basketball.
We do have a question. Speaking of Topps, Paul wants to know, what do you think about the Topps Now cards?
Topps Now is cool. So for those who aren't aware of what Topps Now is, Topps Now, you go to the Topps website, you can get cards based on events that just happened.
Oh.
So they print a specific print run of them based on how many are ordered, right?
Okay.
So like recently, what was the big one recently? It was one of the like record highs for number of orders, but like the Jack Hughes goal for U.S. hockey. The Topps Now card printed, it was hundreds of thousands of copies of that card. When you order those cards, you're doing it for, depending on the card, anywhere from like $4 to $10 a card, because it depends on what the set is. And you are randomly inserted in packs that are sent out to the customers are numbered ones, limited run ones. You can get a 1 of 1 if you're the lucky person who gets sent that 1 of 1, right? So it's kind of a lottery system in that sense. But either way, you're ordering just a big batch of these Topps Now cards. People sometimes order hundreds of them just to try to get some of the low-numbered ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Man, I think there's something new almost every week.
I know.
Feels like with
and
this stuff.
it's been around for a little bit, but they've recently kind of like shifted the way that they do it and are doing it more aggressively because they've realized it's just a new way to print money without having to, create an entirely new set.
Right.
Yeah. So like the Konnor Griffin debut, just that one's right now I think available for sale. Right. You can go on Topps and buy that. There's also something called Panini Instant. It's doing the same thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's go to some card show stuff.
Yeah.
Because I know we've got some coming up, and you probably see it a lot on Facebook. And we have a listener, Jordan, that a few weeks ago he said he doesn't usually go to card shops and such, but he saw a sale for you. He's like, I got to drop that off for you. And I've gone to card shows, and taking Hudson at, and it can be a little overwhelming at times.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you kind of brought this up as a topic to discuss today.
Yeah. So the reason I wanted to talk about it is because I know when I got back into collecting about 6 years ago, goodness, time is flying. When I got back into it, the first time I went to a card show, I felt like when I was trying to talk to these vendors, it was like terrifying because like these are people who in some cases they're very jaded, right? They're doing it as a business, right? Which is fine. This is not a bad thing. They're used to getting negotiated to death. They're used to people making unreasonable requests. They're used to this, that, right?
Yep.
But there are so many of the vendors there that are ready to help and educate and just want to help you, have a better experience, especially when kids are involved, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be a scary thing to walk into a card show and look around and try to find a card that you like. You will get the grouchy, person here and there. You can usually tell because their tables, either it looks the same at the beginning of the show and the end of the show, or they don't have people at it or whatever, right? But like there are people who are there to, when we set up at shows, we are buying, we are selling, we are trading, right? Just like our shop model is. When somebody walks up to the table and they see something they want, they can either buy it for the sticker or negotiate it, or they can trade for it. Or they can walk up with a binder or some cards and just say, hey, I'm looking to offload these, what are they worth? What's the value? Card shows move a little faster than the shops. So if you're going to do that, I do recommend not bringing in an entire binder of, low-end stuff that's going to take forever to comp, right?
Yeah.
To get prices for. Comp means to get prices for. And so, when you go to these shows, think of it from the vendor perspective of things move quickly for them. If they are working on one thing for a long time, they might be losing opportunity. So if you want to bring a big, gigantic binder, that might not be the time. But if you want to bring a handful of cards that you want to trade or you want to sell, and you find some stuff that they have that you want, don't be afraid to negotiate. These are things that, the worst thing they're going to say is no. And, the negotiation might go your way, it might not. But, the point of the entire thing is to try to have an experience where you're digging for gold, right? You're finding the things that you want. Don't be afraid to dig in those dollar boxes because every once in a while you find a $20 card in there.
Yeah.
So, you want it to be inviting. And, one show that does a great job of that coming up here, the Eau Claire card extravaganza. I think Eau Claire sports card extravaganza. I can't remember if it's sports or just regular, but I know that Pokemon vendors are there too. But that show is coming up. It's at the Best Western at the end of the month. The guy who runs it, Hawk is the nicest guy in the hobby, I swear. And he's got a great shop up in, I think, Woodruff, Wisconsin. But yeah, I highly recommend that show for people who are just trying to, get their feet wet.
And that thing's gotten bigger in the last few years because it used to be in the Oakwood Mall, and now it's at Best Western where they're even in the hallway.
We used to set up in the hallway at the mall. Like our table was like in the main hallway, which was fun. A lot of traffic, but a lot of people not really knowing what was going on either. Obviously, because they were just going to the mall.
Right.
But that show is great. They do a fantastic job, and it's just a welcoming spot, and you can find a wide variety of stuff at that show.
Right. And then, do you want to
Yeah.
Well,
so we have a show this summer. It's
breaking news, by the way.
We haven't even announced this yet. Actually, I asked Dan. I was like, "You want to get the scoop?" We'll have details soon. Look for that to be posted. But we have our Packs and Pints card show at Brewing Project on August 9th. So it's going to be in the upstairs area at Brewing Project. All ages. It doesn't, you're just not 21 plus or anything like that. But it is it's a smaller show, about 18, 20 vendors. We're going to get a lot of people who are kid friendly, a lot of people who are just trying to make this a good experience. We'll have some fun raffle items and some different giveaways throughout the day, put on by us, Slab Factory. And some good friends of the hobby, like somebody like Brian Wilchin, who I got to shout out Brian Wilchin. Brian runs such an incredible card collecting club in the local schools here. And that guy works so hard to provide an experience for those kids for nothing in return. No. And when I say nothing, I mean financially. Obviously, the return for him is the joy that these kids are getting. But I say best person in the hobby. He's, Hawk is competing with Brian Wilchin. I mean, so, Mr. Wilchin, as some people might know him as a teacher. Yep. But he'll be set up and giving away his cards for kids and all that stuff. And we're just going to have a good time.
I was just actually good at because what Slab Factory does, and I know we had a couple other local places that do it too, but you help out the card collecting club with donations and such too. I mean, so kudos and
well, it's not just us actually; it's our customers. So our customers have figured out, hey, I've got some cards that I don't know what I'm going to do with them, and maybe these kids would benefit, and so they drop them off, and we donate to Brian and the Card Collecting Club. Now, if people are hearing this and they're like, "Oh, I got a ton of cards I got to get rid of," the kids are not interested in the 80s and 90s junk wax. Yep. They don't know who those players are. Yep. Modern cards, things like that, they will definitely take. But the Card Collecting Club, they are not interested in your 90s NBA hoop set.
Maybe we need to start up the adult version of that.
Exactly. Yeah. When do we get that going? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian, you got extra time, right?
Exactly. Yeah, Brian, sort these out too.
Exactly. I swear, on weekends he's posting pictures, sorting through and all that. And I know with Little League season coming up, he's going to be at tournaments and such set up too and handing that out.
He works so hard and is such an amazing ambassador of the hobby.
Right. Well, do you want to show? You brought some other
I did.
cards here too.
This is just for fun, I was able to add, because I talked about the PC, which for me is game used patches from all-star players from the year I was born in 1992. So I did complete two of my sort of grail ones. I needed a Wizards Michael Jordan. Ooh. I needed a Bulls Michael Jordan. Okay. So I was able to get my Wizards one here first. So that is actually game-worn shorts from Jordan.
That's awesome.
Which is funny. I remember this set as a kid, actually. I didn't have this card, but I remember this set as a kid. And then this one was a little tougher to get, but I was able to do a little trading into it. And this Jordan is from his Bulls days. So the game-worn stuff I'm trying to knock out some of the bigger guys here early. I also, just for fun, brought this because this patch is gorgeous. This is Charles Barkley, game-worn NBA relic. And
I just saw, was there a Barkley card, one of one that just went ridiculous amount? Yeah.
It did. It was a logo man, which logo mans in general, they go crazy. Yep. I think it went for
six figures.
Yeah, it was over 100. It was like 124,000.
Yeah,
ridiculous number for a Charles Barkley card, but it was awesome. I would love to see it. You love to see occasionally guys like that get their flowers. I'll bring a couple. I'll show you a couple others. This one I just got, and I can talk about what this means in both of these cards actually. But this is a rookie Aaron Rodgers patch auto. Oh man, and. By the way, these are my collection. These are not shop cards, unfortunately. I mean, if you're interested in any of them, you can talk to us at the shop. But again, the shop has plenty of great cards available as well. But this one I talked about a few weeks ago is like kind of a grail that I'm going after, and I had an opportunity to pick one up, and there it is. So I had the opportunity to pick up. This is Jordan's Fleer rookie. An iconic card. This is one that these both the Aaron Rodgers and the Michael Jordan are graded as authentic altered.
Okay.
And what that means is that they are obviously the real deal, but the altered means that physically there was something that was done to it that it is not the same, either the same shape or condition that it would have been, right? So it's different than grading it based on scratches or things like you can actually see in this top corner that little peel on the top. This was probably in a screw down. I'm guessing, and then it kind of peeled that top right off.
Okay.
So you can see that little thing there. That's the altered part on the Jordan, and then on the Aaron Rodgers, it's hard to see, but there's like kind of a gouge in the side of the card that, I couldn't even show you if I tried on this camera, but it's still authentic, still the real deal, just not as good of condition.
Right. Man. Okay, so really quick before I have to let you go, because you're talking about pricing and such, and this is something I always think about or always wondered.
Yeah.
Because when we were younger, we had price guides, right?
Yeah.
We had Tough Stuff, Beckett,
Beckett.
and all that. What's the best way to price? Now you look at online, you look at eBay, you see wide ranges of stuff sometimes.
Yeah. Here's the question, Dan. How much time do we have? No, I mean, the quickest answer is that there's a handful of apps that are really good for this, and it just depends on what it is. If you're pricing Pokemon, there's like Collector app or TCG Player. Those are the ways to price your Pokemon. If it's graded Pokemon, you can check price charting or, Card Ladder. We at the shop use Card Ladder. It's an app. You do pay a monthly fee for Card Ladder, but it's the cleanest, most effective one that we've used.
Okay.
For a free one for sports, 130 point. 130, like the number, and then point. .com. That is the best way to get accurate prices. Do not go directly through eBay for it, because eBay does not show you the best offer accepted number. It sometimes shows unpaid auctions. So, if you're really looking for accurate comps on sports cards, Card Ladder, 130 point. Some of these other apps are doing okay too, like Collects and like the Sports Card Investor app and some of these others. But those are the big two, I think, Card Ladder and 130 point.
Okay, because Hudson for the Easter Bunny got him those egg Topps baseball ones, and he got two of them, and one of them it was a green parallel Mizorowski rookie.
Heck yeah.
And then the other one was Paul Skeens.
All right.
So and I'm like, well, this site says if it's Gem 10, it's like $100 or something, but then it's like, we talked about that last time, how it goes down further.
Way
and
down.
I'm like, which one is it? Sort of thing. But I'm like,
it's hard to tell sometimes, and like there's also always outliers, so you can't you got to kind of use some logic and build a case for a card.
Right.
Yeah.
Man. Well, Barb says, not a card person. However, this is so interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Oh,
this
that's
knowledge.
great.
So
yeah,
good stuff.
I'm glad. Yeah. I have a blast every time I'm on here. So.
And Paul says, okay, we be flexing. Holy crap.
No, these are cards in, cards out, right? So like I'm not somebody who holds cards that big. This is for me I'll try to hold cards like that if I can, but really, it doesn't make all the sense in the world to do so necessarily. Yeah, it's cards in, cards out.
That's awesome. I got to say though, one thing really quick cuz we got to let you go here. Hudson wants last year I tried to figure this out. There's got to be a way for a birthday party to do something with cards.
Oh, heck yeah.
So if you have any, I'm going to throw this to you. If you have like ideas that I could do for his birthday party with friends.
I got it right now. I think you could do like a little card break. Yeah. You could randomly assign people at the party teams, right? You could put them all in a randomizer, spin the wheel, have a good time with it, and then, open a couple of boxes, and then, the kid gets the cards from that team, right? Yeah. You don't want to introduce the concept of gambling on cards necessarily, but there's a way to make it fun and accessible, like Brian does.
I was going to say he's gone to Brian's card breaks and such,
you
too.
You could absolutely do that, and if you wanted to do that through us, we would be happy to host it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Hold me to it.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah,
appreciate it. It's Ty, Slab Factory. Give us the hours again for Slab Factory, or what's the best way?
I was going to say, best way to check hours is Google, because they're different every day, and I'm going to get a headache if I try to rattle them off. But check Google. Also, feel free to reach out if you have questions about the shop, if you have questions about shows. Like the Instagram that we have is myself answering the questions. The Facebook Messenger is either myself or my colleague Jordan, who is really running the show. He's back and forth. Madison, Eau Claire. And then we've got Paul, of course, one of our fellow owners, and then Derek down in Madison. So all these guys do such an amazing job with kids, with families. I'm lucky to work with such an incredible group of people.
That's all, and I know you're on X with yours.
Yes, and that's
doing some stuff too.
The X stuff. Like, look, I keep it pretty PG, but I do like to complain about like Doc Rivers. So like if you want to listen to that, you can go ahead and go there too. But yeah, I'm certainly all over the place.
That's awesome, man. I love this every time you're in. So we appreciate it.
See you in a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, Paul, we'll give away a card. I'm going to have Ty pick it out of the bit. Pick a card. Which one are we going to give away today?
Oh, this one. Let's do this. This is fun because it's an iconic card. It's not necessarily a super high value card, but it's an iconic one.
Yeah.
Griffey rated rookie. That is a really cool card.
That is.
And it actually looks like it's the variation where it doesn't have the dot after ink.
Okay.
Which doesn't make it that much more rare, but it's a little bit more rare. So that's kind of fun.
All right. Well, I'll tell everybody how we're going to win that one coming up here in a little bit. So thanks, man. Appreciate it.